Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashemi Hashai Bahashem HaKodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, or the true leaders of Israel today. And salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who are risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai. And the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we are the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalio, and this video is on the prophecies of Yahweh Shemishai, specifically about the famine that is coming. Alright, in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 5, it says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." So there's a severe judgment that is coming in these last days, which are the last days of the rulership of the so-called white men who are the biblical Edomites. Judgment from Yahweh Shemishai, consisting of the plagues upon the world, such as the sword, famine, death, and destruction, are coming. And for the nation of Israel, it is called the time of Jacob's trouble, a time like never before upon us as a nation. All right? And this famine that is coming is going to be very serious. And the famine as well, it's something that is going to be engineered by the wicked elite of Esau Edom. They're going to be bringing it about because a part of the control that they want to establish, they need to bring about chaos. And they know that one of the best ways to bring about chaos onto the world is to create a famine. Okay, because a famine is very serious. It's a very serious judgment, man. All right, the famine is so severe of a judgment. It says in Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 9, "They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger, for these pine away stricken through for want of the fruits of the field." So it's better to die from the sword, so however which way, than to perish of hunger. The scriptures literally just said it. Okay, and then when you go to verse 10, it says, "The hands of the pitiful woman have sodden their own children." Let's look at this word sodden, and sodden at H1310. It says to boil, cook, bake, roast, and ripen. Right? So the hands of the pitiful woman have boiled, cooked their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. And this is coming, man, because the famine is going to be very sore. And this modern day captivity, which is led by the Edomites, this American captivity, is a modern day captivity. And America is known as spiritually Sodom and Egypt. America is spiritually Egypt, right? And in ancient Egypt, they suffered a very sore famine over there, where there was a famine, and then after that, the money failed in Egypt, right? So it was a very terrible situation in ancient Egypt. But the Lord says that there's no new thing under the sun. So just as a famine happened in ancient Egypt, it's going to happen in modern day Egypt. And it is in fact coming, man. It's a very powerful tool, and the wicked elite of Esau Edom know this. Okay? So here it is, this video from Ones That Can See. And this is an individual, he's I don't know what they call them these days. I think it's that word conspiracy. That's what they would label him. But basically he's aware of certain truth, that is going on regarding what's happening with Esau Edom, the wicked elite, and the left-hand side, right? He's one of those that can see, and he knows about all of the symbolism and all of the wickedness and the deception that is put out there, by way of the wicked elite of Esau Edom and all those kinds of things. Okay, but I do suggest, when listening to any kind of individual, that you filter everything through the scriptures. Okay, you look at the prophecies at hand, and then based on information that you hear from it's individuals, randoms, that aren't in the truth, you just filter it appropriately. So here it is. Be ready. Food shortages, price hikes, and a transfer of wealth are coming to America because of this. And so the thing that he's talking about is this whole carbon tax that has been proposed. Now the carbon tax, that's a whole other topic, you know, but the part that I'm going to play in the video is the famine, the food shortages that is coming. Okay, so let's just start from that point. And as you can see, even this image, he who controls the food controls the people. All right, and that is appears to be a saying that one of the wicked elite of Esau Edom made at some point in time. So let's just take a listen to what is coming.
And it's amazing that they can sit there and say, look, we're doing what's in the best interest of humanity, right? They never address global cooling versus global warming. They don't address geoengineering, how they can make it rain in Dubai. But other countries have droughts, right? How about we address that? Oh, we're having droughts in third world countries. We're having droughts in America. But you can make it rain in Dubai by cloud seeding because it's actually real, right? Well, we don't want to stop the droughts. Why would we want to do that when our plan is to starve you to death? Because remember, just like their hero, Henry Kissinger, they call him a war criminal. He's just a flat-out satanic criminal in general. Don't forget what he once said. Who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. Who controls money can control the world. Well, that's all three.
Right. So who controls the food? So, well, all three of these statements ring true. Who controls the food supply controls the people. I mean, you know, that, you see, the tool of famine is a very important tool that they're going to be using to in the midst of all of the chaos and to bring about chaos. All right. And it's going to be one of the tools that they use to convince people to take the mark of the beast, which is the microchip. You know, that hour of temptation that is coming, right? Because when there's a famine and then the first, you know, it's going to happen in stages. First, you know, the food is going to be lessened in the grocery stores, and then eventually it's going to lead to a point where it's like, oh, they need to ration, right? And then even just like the situation in 2020 worldwide, you know, the pandemic situation out here in Jamaica, they put out basically what was a decree, right, and an order that you could only go to the grocery store on certain days based on the beginning of your last name, I believe it was. So if your last name began with A, you got to go on a certain day, which I believe would be like the earlier day, like a Monday. And then if your name started out with like a Z, you would go on like a later day, you know? And that was just during a pandemic, which, you know, a pestilence is another way to bring chaos and control. All right, so they have different methods that they can use, but the famine is a very powerful tool. Okay, and it's gonna go from those stages to then eventually, as it says in 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Right, so it's going to be first just naturally going to the grocery store, the shelves are going to seem more empty, which I see that already. You know what I'm saying? And then it's going to be to the next point where with the whole rationing thing, and then there's going to be suddenly the sown places shall appear unsown. So those places that have food and stuff, they're going to be found empty. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and then the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heard, they shall be suddenly afraid, which would be the announcement saying, declaring there's a food shortage, or there's a famine. We're in a famine. You know what I'm saying? And then people are going to be afraid of that. Then it says, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So it's not just going to be food. Of course, it's also going to be of water. So we're going to be heading to that stage very soon, right? In the next months, years, however it is soon in the grand scheme of things. And when the famine is about and they have the food in certain places and they're telling you, well, you can't enter this area unless you have a microchip, that's the hour of temptation. When you're faced with taking the mark of the beast, which is the market chip, and you know, you either take it and you continue in Esau's society and whatever else, and then you suddenly get to you get to eat the food that they have there and all that stuff, or you reject it and then you're just out there, in the in the cold, away from the safe zones and stuff like that, as they will designate certain areas as such. Okay, and so many people, because they don't have no faith in Yahweh Shemishai, talking about the Israelites, our people, okay, they're going to accept that market chip. So yeah, man, that famine is going to be a very powerful tool. Okay, so who controls the energy can control whole continents, of course, and then who controls money control the world. Well, it is the banking elite, right? That does control the world, but it starts with the blessing that was given unto Esau Edom, right, by our forefather Isaac, that he would have the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. The scriptures say that the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So Esau was given a blessing by Yahweh Shemishai to have rulership at a certain point in time, and so he's in rulership, so he has all of the riches, and as such he controls the world. Okay, so
happening at once, because this will give them more control over the food supply chain. It'll give them more control over energy, as far as how much energy you're allowed to use and consume. And of course, who controls the money? Because we're going to see a massive transfer of wealth. And when we talk about simulations like Event 201, some of you may not have seen this one, but they actually did a food chain reaction simulation in 2015 where they talked about just this type of thing happening. Civil unrest, people who are angry with rising food costs, right? Population growth, disease, how will we respond? They ran a simulation. Here's just a little trailer that they played for the simulation. Of course, this isn't a simulation. This is them carrying out their plans in real time. These simulations, of course, are just test runs. That's what they are. Just like they ran a test run on the 11th day of September, conveniently. Just like they ran a test run during the marathon at Boston, conveniently, right? Just like they ran a test run during Event 201. Look.
Around the globe, food
allegedly,
prices have risen.
you just got to put that out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, allegedly. But it's the wicked. And one of Esau's primary tools that they use is deception. They love it. They're built to deceive. Okay?
About 40% in the last year.
The severe drought in the Horn of Africa has reached famine conditions.
Violence breaks out in Somalia as demonstrators protesting rising food prices clash with police.
We are facing a humanitarian problem.
You see that climate change, disease, to population overgrowth. And what's a part of their NWO? They want to call the population down to 500 million because it will be easier for them to control less people. Okay? They mentioned disease, right? That's going to be a part of this whole that they mentioned in this whole simulation. As I said before, it is a powerful tool that they can use, and we saw how they used it in 2020. Now remember, this is a simulation that they did back in 2015, predicting like 2020 or something, but the year is 2025. Okay, so yeah, that's the point of the video that I wanted to bring out. And the wicked elite of Esau Edom, they're going to bring about that famine, man. They really are. And it's already started. They've already weakened the supply chain very greatly. And they've been making their moves on the food products, right? Well, many things are happening around the world. So it is quite difficult unless you're immersed in it, immersed in watching what's going on, to miss certain things. But you know, as a watchman of Yahweh Shemishai, as the scriptures say that I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, you know, those of us that do believe, we are immersed in watching exactly what's going on, and more so now than ever before. And then there's a part here, I think if I can find it, where there's an article back in 2016 that says a FEMA contractor predicts social unrest caused by 395% food price spikes. So, you know, it's been out there, but social unrest because of price increases. And then we go back to 2 Ezra 6 and 24, and it says, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, because that's what the famine is going to cause as well, for people to be fighting one another for it. Because when the money is useless and the world is in chaos and it's like an every man for himself kind of thing, the people are just going to go buck wild. In 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 18, it says, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So people are going to be attacking one another for food, because people aren't just going to want to starve. So it mentions for great tribulation because it's going to be a time of great trouble. And once again, the wicked elite of Esau, Edom are manufacturing this famine. They're going to use that tool very soon. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 8, and I looked and behold a pale horse, talking about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So Esau, Edom is going to bring about this to the earth, man. Okay, and to America. All right, that's the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword and with hunger. So the famine is coming. And it's a very severe judgment from Yahweh Shemishai. It's not going to be any joke kind of thing. And the last time this world experienced famine was like properly, well, you know, certain countries have experienced famine, like Venezuela and certain African countries of sorts, you know. But the last time in a more severe way was probably World War II, I'd guess, you know. So the point is that, like, this generation doesn't know what it feels to starve, you know. This generation are the, you know, and for our people, many times when judgment comes from Yahweh Shemishai's judgments is happening daily, you know. But when judgment comes in the form of an earthquake or any such thing, they're able to find, or a hurricane and stuff, they're still able to, like, be playful. You know what I'm saying? Like, be playful and be jolly and find mirth in it of sorts. But, you know, the scriptures say that the fool's heart is in the house of mirth, you know. But the famine is what's going to set our people in a state of feeling completely destitute, right? Many times it's been said that the famine is what's really gonna shake these people up, and it's true. When Jake isn't able to eat, that's when Jake is gonna really, really feel it. Okay? So yeah, man, it's coming. With that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai Bashar Makal Kodesh. Shalom.